Want some, get some. How about those friggin' Pirates?
We need to remove this.
You have to go with the Pirates because, of course, they have cannons and everything.
It's a pirate's life for me.
Be proud of who you are and what you are. You're Pirates.
It is a first down. Pirates.
Because when you're at East Carolina, you go for it every time. Or you don't coach at East Carolina, you don't come to East Carolina, you don't play at East Carolina with a weak heart. Write it.
I think I've ever been in a building as loud as that was. It was deafening in there.
We will get Omaha. I can promise you that.
Painted purple all night long in Eastern North Carolina.
You're watching The Sports Objective, the podcast for Pirates.
Yeah. My heart is purple and gold. I'm a pirate down to my soul. And I don't back down, not at all. Find out when the cannons explode.
Hey there, welcome in to the football playback as the Pirates win 49-14 over FAU. I am Dave Richmond, and I'm going to use a Poison reference. We were just talking about Poison right before the show. I'm talking about the music group. We're having nothing but a good time, Kyle Barber. How about that? Do you have any more Poison songs that you could use to describe how you're feeling right now?
Well, I guess every rose has its thorn, but like you said, you don't need nothing but a good time. And I'll tell you what a good time is an unskinny bop.
There you go.
What's going on, Matt Semenza?
Wow. You just pulled out like 4 songs in the span of 5 seconds. That's not bad. Doing pretty good, guys. I had a really good time watching the ECU game the other night. It was enjoyable. It was enjoyable to see us just completely dominate a team from start to literally start to finish from the first play of the game, and then play a complete game where not only did the offense play well, but the defense also played well. And that's something we've been looking for all season. So definitely enjoyed it. A little disappointed that so many fans left. I would think you'd want to stay in the bleachers and enjoy that type of win, but it is what it is. And on to the next one.
No doubt. I mean, there's always a traffic jam in Greenville, North Carolina on a Thursday night at like 10 o'clock.
Apparently so.
Maybe we should need, Matt, maybe we should get some light rail in Greenville to help these folks out that do that. Anyway, let's bring in from China Grove, Thomas Rosenbaum. How are you?
I don't know who's that you speak of, but yeah, it was a entertaining game, and but no, it was a great game, and like Matt said, we jumped on them from the first play, and 2 touchdowns in the first 4.5 minutes, and then we'll dive into some of the other stuff.
I'll tell you what, guys. I just want to get your feedback before we dive into the game really quick. I was thinking about this morning, the very fact that isn't it amazing what you hear the term all the time, what a difference a couple weeks makes. I mean, that Charlotte game.
You do? You hear that term all the time? What a difference a couple weeks makes.
I mean, a week makes, but 2 weeks makes. We're like on the verge of collapse. Kyle said 3-9 a couple weeks ago, and it felt that way because I couldn't even get an Uber. I couldn't even get out of the stadium. They were locking and poor Stephen Igo got locked inside the stadium. I was down to the last one at Charlotte. It was like everything that could go wrong during the game and after the game. Then I couldn't get an Uber back to my hotel. I had to walk back to the hotel. Anyway, we go from that to now where we're on the verge. If we win Thursday night, and let me tell you something, Tulsa. We're coming for you because it's perfect that we have a chance to be bowl eligible against Tulsa. We owe them. We had I'm going to use a wrestling term for Kyle, the Tulsa screw job in 2020. The worst officiating I've seen in a long time, and that's saying a lot, was 4 bad calls in a row that they got reprimanded for, apparently. But anyway, Tulsa, you're on the clock. We got you coming Thursday night. Let's talk
Yeah, I don't
some
know if you
trash.
can really. I don't really know that you can blame Tulsa for that. That was more on the officials. But yeah, no. Back if everybody remembers back to 2020, that's been a long time ago. We had that game won on the final drive, and every time penalty after penalty after penalty, and it was bad calls, touchdowns called back. I mean, and it cost us the ball game. And then last year we blew it with a big lead against Tulsa, and that was on us.
Yep.
But yeah, no, it's a big game to get bowl eligible. We're going to look back at the Florida Atlantic game before that, and but big win this past Thursday night to get the 5 wins. Dominant performance on really all facets of the ball. I expected us to beat Florida Atlantic, but was expecting much more competition than that. I watched Florida Atlantic play multiple times, and typically they play pretty good, and then people pull away from them in the fourth quarter. But man, that was dominant from beginning to end. You could say, yeah, we knocked their quarterback out, but it was 21-0 with him in.
Yeah.
So it was a dominant performance, and really just amazing to me. And we'll dive into it in more detail how well Hauser has played, going back to that second half against Army. And you say it a million times, but the reason it keeps being said by so many people, and including myself, it boggles your mind that he was on the bench and Garcia was starting, and the amount of turnovers Garcia was creating, just turnover. You had to think to yourself, well, Hauser must really suck, or maybe he really is injured. Maybe the injury's worse than we heard, his wrist injury. Um, but he comes in, and the Charlotte game, who knows? He looked like he hadn't been practicing with the ones. The second half against Army, he started clicking, and you wondered how much of that was Army, just playing scrubs. But it's been rolling ever since. And we'll talk about Hauser's play. We'll talk about the aggressiveness by Blake Harrell to go for to try to score before halftime again this week. Some of the other things we've seen different from John David Baker since over the last 2 weeks, particularly what I've seen in the running game has been way different. And we'll get into all of that. But guys, where do we want to start?
Yeah, I mean, just to kind of jump in on that. I mean, when you look at Hauser, he's so much better pre-snap than what we were getting earlier this season. I mean,
Absolutely.
Pre-snap, you can see he's making a lot of adjustments. You can see he's checking. He's getting us into the right spots. He's getting us into the right plays. And you just see a huge difference there. And then I think the biggest difference, though, is his ability to throw the deep ball. He's connecting on these deep balls at a really high percentage. Earlier in the season, and we saw this, numerous times where we had receivers literally wide open, and Garcia just wasn't able to hit them in stride. And I mean, we must have connected on 4 to 5 deep balls the other night, including the first possession of the game to Sowell on literally the second offensive play. And I think that's just the biggest thing. But this offense has so much more flow to it right now. It looks much more natural. Hauser looks really comfortable in this scheme right now. And we're playing like we have nothing to lose. And, I think that's another huge difference is like we're not getting conservative at different times of the game. In particular, right before halftime, I like the aggressive nature of this staff to not kind of sit on your timeouts and go into halftime, with a lead. They stay aggressive. They want to continue to score points, and you're just seeing a team that's progressing, and it's really obvious. And again, like I said, the biggest thing that made me happy was we finally played a complete game, offense and defense.
Yeah, to talk about the points you made about Hauser, Matt. I noticed several times him changing plays at the line of scrimmage. That ended up every time he did that, it ended up being a big play. It seemed like when it was very noticeable. There was, you mentioned his ability to throw the deep ball. It's not anything special. People are like, "Oh, it's the greatest deep ball I've ever seen." You apparently didn't see David Garrard when he played here. He puts it out there where the receivers can run under it. He's accurate with it. He doesn't try to overthrow it. He just puts it. He trusts his arm. He puts it out there where the receivers can get to it and lets them get to it. He takes the check down. He doesn't force things. If the deep ball ain't there, he'll take the check down. And we saw him pull it down, and a nice run right before halftime, as you mentioned, the aggression with 59 seconds to go to call timeout, get the ball back when we were up 28-7. And instead of sitting on that, we go up 35-7. That's what Mike Houston would have never done. So, I'm extremely pleased with the way we played the last 2 weeks. And, I'm right now, I'm almost worried that we're going to make a change unless something collapses over the next 3 weeks. And, I think you're really going to see people start getting excited if we win this coming Thursday and get bowl eligible. I think you'll really start to see a lot of momentum around the Blake Harrell, John David Baker. To me, it's really because now you got to also, this is the new world we're living in, guys. And I'll make this point and then let somebody else talk. But when you're talking about changing coaches, you really now have to think about players, such as your quarterback. And if this thing is clicking enough where, I hesitate to say even just at 6-6 if we lose close ones to North Texas and Navy. But here's the thing. You're not just losing Blake Harrell as interim head coach. You would be losing John David Baker as OC. And if we're still lighting it up, do we really want to change OCs? And do we want to lose Caton Hauser? If Caton keeps playing like this, I don't want to lose Caton. And so you're going to have to come up with a bigger NIL deal for him. But you stand a much better chance of keeping Caton Hauser if you keep Blake Harrell and John David Baker rather than bringing in a new head coach. Now, they got 3 games left to get that done and improve things. I just hope it's not to the point where they have to go 8-4 to do it. You certainly need to at least get bowl eligible. And if you don't win against North Texas and Navy, you better play damn well. I think they're going to have to win one of those last 2, assuming we beat Tulsa, to get to 7-5. But I really am starting to get on this bandwagon of, as long as things play out the way I think they're going to, keep Blake Harrell, keep JDB, keep Caton Hauser. Because what you're going to do if you bring in a new head coach, no matter who it is, Garrett Riley, Tyson Helton, Chip Kelly, you're going to have a year most likely of transition and rebuild. And if you get to 7-5 or even 8-4 next year, if you can keep the continuity, why broke it? Why fix it if it ain't broken? We're just now starting to roll. We're just now starting to see what John David Baker can do. We're just now starting to see what Caton Hauser can do. So if it continues to roll over these next 3 games, don't change it anyway. And now we'll get back to the game.
No doubt. Go ahead. I was just going to say with the way we have things right now, when you look at recruiting, Matt, you're like the expert in the portal, but you look at things right now. I know the D-line, we're going to need a lot we're losing a lot this year, right, fellas? But I mean, for the most part, we've got, so that's going to be an area of concern for me. But otherwise, you get rid of Harrell and JDB, those guys are recruiting. So a lot of our coaches right now, we have intact. We've got a lot of great, we can disagree on Houston with him being conservative with the offense and all that, but he did do a good job of the coaches he had for the position coaches, I think, overall, Magazoo and the likes and different ones. But anyway, we can keep all those guys. I would think if Blake is going to stay and you have JDB and it seems more continuity, why would you, like Kyle said,
if it plays out the right way, there's no need to change it. If it plays out the right way.
Yeah. It's just a matter of right now, we need to take care of what we can take care of as a fans with the NIL piece and all that, and season tickets. Support these guys, please. I'll say one thing. We'll move on to the game. But the way we're playing right now, there's no reason why people can't come to the Navy game. I don't want any excuses. Take the day off. Do whatever you have to do.
Most people are off that day anyway.
Yeah. Good point. So there's some people that I know have to work that day, but we're talking about the people that don't have to work and they're coming to, please don't say shopping. Please don't say shopping.
No, and here's the thing. I'll go ahead and then we'll get back to the game. Pirate Nation season ticket holders, please, if you can't be there on Black Friday,
give your tickets.
Make plans now to distribute your tickets. Let ECU know if you can't find somebody to give them to, that you want them donated to the Children's Hospital or to, somebody. You got parents over there at the James and Connie Mater Children's Hospital that I'm sure, that are over there long term, staying at the Ronald McDonald House, that I'm sure would love a little break for a couple of hours to go watch a football game. So if you can't use your tickets, donate them. Get them used. I see so many people, and it irritates the crap out of me that on a Thursday night game at 4:00 in the afternoon, I see on Facebook an idiot trying to sell their 4 tickets for $100. Just give them away, dude. Do you need that $100 that bad? Just get your seats filled.
Yeah. And also going back to what we talk about is we need to do a better job of civic groups. We talked about Boys and Girls Club, church groups. That 8,000 seats that we have in the I was going to say boneyard, man, in the upper deck. They're hardly. I mean, we may have 500, 1,000. We don't have a lot of. We have plenty of inventory there. Let's get that place rocking. And guys, this could be a situation where we can actually beat Navy for the first time ever in Greenville. I was talking to a person over that.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think we, definitely we need to promote people coming out for that Navy game, and it would be an opportunity to beat Navy for the first time ever. But I think we'll create a lot more excitement about that if we win. And you got 2 more before that, but particularly this week, Thursday night, Tulsa, get bowl eligible. But we need to look back at the Florida Atlantic game first, and this is Pirate Playback. But so guys, we already talked about Hauser's play, but Bubba, take it from here. Where should we start really breaking down this game?
Well, I talked about it's getting off to a fast start. Those 2 touchdowns in the first 4.5 minutes, and then we led 21-0 after the first quarter. Then Florida Atlantic made it 21-7, and Blake Harrell in the post game referenced something, a little dialogue on the headset or on the sideline rather, that you had with John David Baker.
Yep.
And JDB asked him if he wanted to slow the tempo down a little bit. He sensed that the defense might be getting tired, and he said, "Hey, keep scoring. We'll figure it out from a defensive standpoint." And that was refreshing to hear. And you I think you referenced the end of the first half and the way we handled that situation. I definitely do not think we would have. I feel very confident in saying we would not have seen that aggression under the previous leadership. And there, a 7.5 minute stretch, we went from up 21-7 to obviously 35-7 at half. And then I think that first drive of the second half, they went down the field, but we got a pick. And then we had a 6-play, 80-yard drive to go up 42-7. And I was telling Matt earlier, though, out of all our drives the other night, and we only had 3 in the second half. And one of the reasons why is because of this one that I'm about to reference. As nice as it was to see all the success that we had early and, really throughout the entire first half, when we were up 42-7, to see us not go ultra conservative the way we did against Temple, and to be able to put together a 16-play, 80-yard, 8-minute and 13-second drive was so refreshing, and just it was great to see us put a game away. And I say put a game away, not get ultra conservative once the game was already put away, like we had 2 weeks prior against Temple.
Yeah, I agree with that. The only thing I would say, I'd like to find a happy medium with that, where we don't leave Hauser out there so long. Hauser was out there up until the last series, and we put Jeter in to take a knee. You hate to see Hauser get injured in meaningless time. So I wish we could find a happy medium in between that.
I do agree, and that's something my dad mentioned either when it was happening or after the game on the ride home, just that he didn't really understand, from the outside looking in, unless there's something we didn't know about, why Jake Garcia or Raheem Jeter didn't get some snaps.
Yeah, exactly. And I used to look at this guy as back in the Steve Spurrier days when he was kind of running up scores on people, right? Back in the mid 90s, Florida Gators putting up 65, 70. It seemed like every week at that point. And people used to get really annoyed at Spurrier. They'd say, oh, he's running the score up. It was like a big thing. I remember back in those days, but I've really changed my tune on that. And, this is major college football, and it's up to the defensive coordinator to stop you. It's up to the DC to stop your offense. And listen, if I'm up 45 points, I am, to your point, Kyle, I'm definitely taking my starting quarterback out of the game. I totally agree. But I'm not taking my foot off the gas. And when my backups go in, I want to get them work. I want to get my backup quarterback meaningful reps, not just handing the ball off and running the clock out. And, you can't feel sorry for these other teams. You really can't. Like I said, major college football. So I agree with that. It was refreshing to see. And, we need to keep scoring points at this rate. And I think we will next Thursday. But Bubba, we did highlight 3 or 4 plays. I think this might be a good time to kind of get into those if you have those ready.
Yeah, let's go to that first one, which was the first play of the game. We saw creativity right off the bat, direct snap to Rajay Harris. He handed it off to Caton Hauser, and we were lined up in a wing trip set, and as you'll see here, wing trips set, ball on the left hash. Rajay catches the snap, hands it off to Hauser. Hauser with the play action fake to Winston Wright, and then hits Tyler Savage. Very easy, simple throw, but a little bit of an unorthodox play there, and we'll play it one more time. But 25-yard gain, and then boom, the next play, a 50-yard takeoff route to Chase Sowell, and 7-0 Pirates. 35 seconds into the ball game.
Yeah, good start, and what followed up that play, like you said, the big touchdown pass. It was a fast start, and we just had them on the heels from the word go. We came out ready to play, just clicking on all cylinders, and FAU just it was it looked like what it looked like is a team that's surging to me right now. I Florida Atlantic is spinning their wheels, staying in place, going backwards, and we're getting better. We're going forward. We're surging, and I'm telling you, man, it's one game at a time. But the way we played Thursday night, you can't help but be excited and think. Well, you can't help but think about what might have been had we been playing Hauser and JDB was allowed to be wide open all year. But forget that. I'm looking forward, and we're talking about 6 and 6, 7 and 5, man. If we play like this, 8 and 4 is not out of the question, but it plays like that. The creativity you saw there, and the way it was executed. How many times have we seen direct snaps to Harris and them not be executed properly?
Oh my God,
There's been a couple, 3. So just to see the way we executed that, in addition to the creativity, was beautiful.
I tell you what, guys, with the you talking about the offense, it just makes you wonder about 2 games to come to mind, and that is, of course, the App State game and the Liberty game. We were up 17-0 and 16-0 in those games, and then we played conservative. I think it was second quarter or whatever, but it just makes you wonder what could have been. But hey, you're absolutely right, Kyle, with the excitement of the offense, and the other thing about Mike Houston that drove me crazy was I did like the guy, but the one thing that drove me crazy is the end of the first half, like you talked about, Kyle, when you go conservative and not get another touchdown. If you can get 3 or 7 more points on the board right before halftime, especially if you're getting the ball back, and then you score again in the third quarter, that's a backbreaker. And so for us to open things up and try that. One more thing, guys, soccer related, congratulations to our AAC conference champions today, the women's soccer team. For our Greenville friends, they're going to be back at 11:15 at the airport. So I want to let everybody know that before I give you a chance, a few hours in case you want to go there. And speaking of the airport, I'm going to go to the airport Thursday night if we beat Tulsa. I'm going to go and say hello to our friend. But it'll probably be extremely late by the time they get back in, maybe 2:00 in the morning or something, or 3.
Yeah, it will be. I doubt it'll be a big crowd on a Thursday night, Friday morning. But yeah, if you can go, if we do beat Tulsa to get bowl eligible, yeah, go out there, welcome the team back, and let Gilbert know what you think of the job Blake Harrell and staff is doing. I would go if we get bowl eligible, but unfortunately, I'm going to be in the middle of colonoscopy prep.
Hey, do we have any porta
I-
johns? Can we get a porta john?
I need a porta john. I need a porta john in the truck. So yeah, unfortunately, I will
I
not be
cleansed
there.
my colon back on October 5th at Jerry Richardson Stadium.
Yeah, no kidding. But I will, unfortunately, because of that, will not be at the airport Thursday night, Friday morning if we do get bowl eligible.
Kyle, you have a definite pass. Matt's going to write a pirate pass for you because that's.
I appreciate it.
That's understandable. We know that you would be there if it was not for the colonoscopy, and you have to be like 10 steps or 5 steps away from the bathroom.
Look, not to be graphic here, but I told somebody, I think it was Stevie Fly earlier today. It was somebody I was talking to. I said I'll be watching the Tulsa game on my phone in the bathroom. The majority of it, I guarantee it.
No doubt. Hey,
going back to these clips,
you don't want to talk about poop instead?
Yeah, we did that enough the first half of the season, but no, with the second drive, really excellent play call here. And Matt, I'll let you talk about this one where we had trips to the field and ran speed option into the boundary.
Caton Hauser recognizes it here. He checks with the sideline, all right? Like I said, 3 wide receivers to the wide side of the field. Option to the boundary. And Rajay with a tough run, and he finishes the run. That's a great play.
Yeah, guys, and you see on that, like the first thing that really jumps out, again, you keep going back, you see the pre-snap checks, right? You see a lot of communication. Obviously, Hauser's got the headset, in the helmet this year. He can communicate with the coaching staffs, but that's a great check pre-snap. And I really like this option wrinkle here. You saw that the corner was at least 8 yards off the ball. The safety was playing deep. So just take what they give you. And he was able to make a simple pitch on that for a nice gain. And Rajay finished the run. The next one, you're going to see a similar type situation where a great check pre-snap to move the safety. We move the safety with motion. But this time, instead of pitching it, Hauser's going to keep it and actually take it to the house from about, I don't know, probably 35, 40 yards out. So we can pull that one up, B.
Yeah, before we do that, with that one we just saw, I know Matt certainly recognized this as well. It's one of the reasons why that was a no-brainer as far as checking to speed option into the boundary. You had the corner 9 yards off and bailing on the snap. And Andy was playing inside, which made it an easy block for the receiver and, 17, 18 yards. And that play, as well as, the employing of, I think, at least 4 or 5 jet sweeps, 3 or 4 to Jari Patterson, a couple to Winston Wright. I know Jari ran for 60 yards on 3 carries on Thursday night. That's a big reason, why we've been able to run the ball between the tackles better. And then also why the last 2 games, I couldn't tell you the last time we ran for 230 plus yards in back-to-back games. And no, the 2 teams we played aren't stout against the run, but a lot of the opponents that we had not been able to run the ball against had not been either. So yes, it's a combination of the 2, but attacking the perimeter with the jet sweeps, the speed options,
yes,
and then being able to see London Montgomery, gash them between the tackles. We're accomplishing what we wanted to accomplish before as far as running the ball between the tackles, but going about it in a smarter way.
Yeah, we're opening it up by running it outside, which then opens up the middle later because they're worried about you running it outside. which is what I said we should have been doing all along, is running the ball outside more with the speed we have and utilizing our playmakers. It makes perfect sense. And to these people that keep saying we played Florida Atlantic and Temple, please, besides Army, tell me what great team we had played this year. I know everybody thought App State was going to be good. They suck. Liberty lost to Kennesaw State. UTSA sucks. They lost to Tulsa, who we're about to play. I don't know, all these great teams. Charlotte, last time I checked, they're horrible and they blew us out. So, with the exception of Army, I'm not sure all these great teams we were playing prior to Florida Atlantic and Temple. Oh, the only reason. So, do people think, had we not made a change, had we left Garcia in, had Mike Houston not been fired, that we would have just done what we had done to Tulsa, or excuse me, to Florida Atlantic and to Temple, had Mike Houston and Garcia still been in their same positions? If you think that, please tell me, because I sure as hell don't.
But to add to that was the fact that, sometimes to your point, Kyle, is that I think we can all agree sometimes when you have a situation like that, the players were so upset. Maybe the players want to, and same thing with Blake Harrell, all the coaches, maybe they were upset and they have something to prove, and they definitely have something to prove. Because if they don't get the job, I didn't say I don't want them to get. I love Blake Harrell. He's a great guy. I've only met John David Baker once. I don't really know him that well. But Blake Harrell's a really good dude, and he's the kind of guy that would hang out with us right now on the podcast. You would never know that he's the interim head coach at East Carolina. The people in Greenville that know him, like his kids play sports. They say he's a normal guy, and that's something to like about him. But for me personally,
I can't imagine, David. I didn't mean to cut you off. Please finish your thought, then I'm going to say something.
No, I was just going to add to what you were saying, and that with Blake Harrell and the guys, I mean, you're looking at it right now where if they win, and especially if they went out, it would be crazy. It would be absolutely crazy to make a change. So for me, to add what you're saying with Blake Harrell, it's like sometimes the point I'm trying to make is sometimes when you make a coaching change, it upsets the players, maybe even the coaches, to the point of where they finally say, oh my gosh, the guy that we love so much took it on the chin for us. He took one for the team. I don't know that's the case. I'm just saying that's the scenario why they're playing better. And maybe that, I don't know.
What I see from the offense is John David Baker. John David Baker, even in interviews, seems like he's had a weight lifted off his shoulder. And I don't know if it's because now Hauser's playing instead of Garcia. I don't know who was behind those decisions. If it was all Houston, if it was Baker, a combination of the two. But I can tell you the first thing JDB did when Blake Harrell got the job was move to the sideline. And he asked Blake, could he move to the sideline? Which tells me that, and I could be wrong on this, and I won't know unless I ask John David Baker. But I kind of wonder if he wanted to be on the sideline the whole time, and Houston wanted them in the box. If you're going to hire somebody, you got to let them be them. If you hire somebody and micromanage them, it's not going to work. If you're going to hire someone, and this goes not only in football, this goes in life, in any occupation. If you're going to hire somebody within reason, you got to let them be them, or it ain't going to work. And Blake Harrell's letting John David Baker be himself. And, granted, now he's got a quarterback that can play. But the running game, what's going on with the running game, except for Blake checking into the right plays, that ain't got nothing to do with Blake. Except with Hauser checking into the right plays. That's got nothing to do with the quarterback. That's the play calling and the plays that are being drawn up by JDB. And how much is Blake Harrell saying, hey, let's run it to the outside more? Who knows? The aggression before halftime, that's all coming from Blake Harrell. The head coach makes that call. So, very pleased with the direction we're going. And, like you said, Dave, if it's 8-4, I don't really think it's a discussion at that point. I mean, I don't.
No.
And to
8-4,
me,
you're feeling great.
And to me, even at 7-5, particularly if that seventh win comes against Navy,
oh my God,
I don't know how you're bowl eligible and then you beat. We've never beat Navy in Greenville, so to me, I don't know how you do that and not retain the staff. And I think we're heading in the right direction so much that, unless I'm way wrong, when he before the Florida Atlantic, before the Temple game on the Pirate preview that week, after listening to Blake Harrell talk, I just had a good feeling, and I remember Bubba. I said on that show, I said hide and watch. I said I don't know what's going to happen. I just got a good feeling, hide and watch, and I still kind of got that feeling. I'll just keep saying it. Hide and watch. I got a feeling that we may win this thing out. First things first, we got to, how is Blake, and we'll continue to break down this game, but how is Blake here going to handle this? Is his first road experience as head coach. He's got to keep these guys focused going on the road, and it's not a Saturday to Saturday affair. It's a Thursday to Thursday affair. He's got to take them on the road during the week. He's got to take them into a Tulsa stadium that will be primarily empty. Can he get them fired up to play in that atmosphere on the road? That can be a struggle at times. So this is going to be a whole new challenge for him, and another test to me of what he can do as a head coach. I don't expect to see the same kind of performance that we saw the last 2 weeks. I think that would be hard to do on the road, even though Tulsa has struggled mightily. But I do expect us to go down there, play well, and win. So to me, this is another aspect of Blake Harrell as interim head coach. How will he do managing things on the road? Matt, you took these plane trips. You probably took a Thursday plane trip at some point for a Thursday game. How different is it, just in general, how different is it going on the road versus playing at home for players? How different do coaches manage things, and particularly for a midweek game on the road?
Yeah, I mean, your preparation is a little different because you leave a day early, so in some ways you have to speed up your preparation a little bit. But I always found it easier to focus on the road because you're away from everything. You're away from campus. You're away from any ideas you might have to go downtown, and it's just total focus on football. You're in the hotel. You're away with your team. So I always enjoy going on the road, kind of like it's the us versus the world mentality that you have to have. So I expect us to go down there and play really well, especially when you're a team that has this much momentum right now. You're feeling really confident about what you're doing. These guys cannot wait to get back out on the field the way this offense is clicking right now. So I expect to go down there, and I do think we're going to win big in that game. But, I think – getting back to one thing you mentioned, Kyle, about, you can really see for the first time in a long time that these guys are just playing very loose. They're not playing uptight. That was something I kind of felt like I've been saying for the last 2 or 3 years, that when you watch this team play, it's almost like guys were afraid to make mistakes.
Right.
Instead of just going and playing instinctive football where you just play fast, you play loose. And you can really see that now for the first time. And like when you have a coach that coaches incredibly tight, it makes it difficult as a player. Like I had a coach at East Carolina. I won't mention his name. My God, did he coach everything incredibly tight. It was unbelievable. I mean, incredibly tight. Over coaching every single play. And it really disrupted, what I was trying to do as a player. So what I like right now, I really appreciate about Blake Harrell, is that he's got this team playing loose. And they just look, they look energized and they look to be in a much better rhythm. So I think it's going to continue on Thursday night.
Hey guys, real quick, I want to ask you guys, I had a coworker ask me, it's funny you brought that up, Matt. I had a player, I'm sorry, Bubba, I just wanted to add to this real quick and then we'll shift gears. But I had a guy, we were talking at the Heart Center, one of my coworkers, and he said, Dave, do you think it's a possibility that now with Houston gone, these guys are not playing tight? They're not playing not to lose now. And, like, in other words, exactly what you're saying, Matt, they're having fun out there. Even the coaches don't have the leash on them anymore. I'm adding that part. He didn't say that, but one of my friends at work, who's also a huge Pirate fan, and whenever we stop each other in the hall, it's always talking about Pirate sports. So just want to get your thoughts on that. Is it Houston gone? Like they lifted, like everybody's relieved he's gone and we can do what we want?
I think Jad David Baker is. I don't know about anybody else, but I do think he is And John David Baker, I'm not putting words in his mouth. That's my assumption. He may disagree. He may say something completely different, but I do think Baker is. Yeah, I think he feels much more free to call the game as he wants to, with Blake Harrell leading things. I'll tell you what. I'll make this comment. It's something I've said to a couple of people, but when can you guys remember a time where a really likable, friendly, jovial, smiling, player-friendly defensive coordinator was the head coach at East Carolina, and he had a young, cocky offensive coordinator? When has that worked here? I mean, I don't. I'm trying to think. See, I don't know. Is there Ruffin McNeil, Lincoln Riley, Bill Lewis, Steve Logan? It's worked here a couple times before.
Well, I certainly hope it continues to work. And I'm definitely every week now. Now, look, I want to say this, and somebody just mentioned in the comments the same thing, is that yes, we are playing teams. We just beat two teams that are not particularly good teams. But
who said that? Who pointed that out for us?
I don't know. It's just on my end. It's just a Facebook user. But here's the thing I'll say about that, and that is true. Like, we just played two bad teams.
Who was beating us?
Let me just.
Who was beating us?
But let me just say, you can definitely see the change is undeniable. I mean, the change is really undeniable. You can see the difference in execution and just the ability to. We're executing at a much different level, but yeah, we're beating some pretty bad teams. I think in order for Blake to get this job, we're going to have to beat either North Texas or Navy. And I certainly hope it happens, because I love the idea of keeping this. If we continue to improve, and in particular offensively, if we continue to execute at this level with Hauser, at quarterback, I really like the idea of keeping this thing together if that continues to happen. And I think it will. I really do. I feel pretty good about what we're looking at for the rest of the year.
Yeah, I think we're going to beat them both. And Bubba had something to say a minute ago, so I'll let him comment on this. But whoever that was, and this is not anything personal, but I said it earlier in the show. I said it on the fifth quarter call-in show, and I'll say it again. Yeah, we beat Florida Atlantic and Temple. Well, who were we playing before that? Charlotte, again, was horrible. They blew us out. Appalachian State beat us. They're bad. Liberty beat us. We thought they were good. They lost to Kennesaw State and has been struggling to win games in the Conference USA despite their record. They struggle every week. ODU, middle of the road team. So who were all these powerhouses we were playing when we were 3-4, with the exception of Army? Nobody. The schedule hasn't gotten any easier. You think it has because of the expectation that Appalachian State was going to be good. Appalachian State's not good. The expectation that Liberty was going to be a top 25 team. They lost to Kennesaw State. That's a one-win football team. UTSA was a preseason favorite in the American. They're struggling. They've lost to Tulsa that we're a 13-point favorite against. So this whole narrative, we played bad teams. Well, we were already playing bad teams. It's not like we left the SEC when Mike Houston got fired. Bubba, go ahead.
Yeah, one of our Facebook comments was kind of what I was already pointing out concerning Jari Patterson and Winston Wright on the jet sweeps, but he just said that the Pirates had 7 runs of 14-plus yards against FAU, and only 2 of those were by running backs. And Monica, appreciate you chiming in as always, Monica, via YouTube. She says, definitely they scored twice just before the half, and that would not have happened under Mike Houston. No. And you look at the way, and technically it wasn't the because I think we ended up there early third quarter. I think it was about 9.5 minutes to go in the third quarter when we scored. But in essence, that middle 8, we had dominated it against Temple, and then essentially against FAU it was 21-0. So in those 2 games, we really piled up, I think, 35 or 42 points in the middle 8 segment of the game there. Final 4 of the first half, first 4 of the second half. But also, wanted to go back to the plays. Matt had referenced the touchdown run by Caton Hauser of about 35 yards there in the final minute of the first half. And but first actually had the third touchdown of the game, which was a screen pass to Winston Wright. FAU's safety, I believe it was, just came up and did not make the tackle. And here was that down at the Murphy Center in. So there, obviously, that's something you take advantage of the other team's miscues, and here's the run by Hauser toward the boneyard, the second of 2 touchdowns there in the final 2 minutes of the first half.
Okay, now this I really like. You're going to see the pre-check, the pre-snap movement here. Watch the safety into the boundary. So now we're going to motion Savage over to the wide side of the field. The safety on top moves with him. London Montgomery shifts over. That opens up a lane here for Caton Hauser. See, they vacated that side of the field and moved that safety over, opens up a lane. That's really nice execution. That's your offense being on the same page.
Yeah,
and there, after he
best.
scored, you had to like Caton Hauser taking advantage of the net being there where we didn't get a 15-yard penalty for throwing the ball into the stands.
Yeah, just really quick, I just want to comment on that play. I mentioned this earlier in the show, but the first thing you notice on that play, again, these pre-snap checks, Kyle.
Yes.
Pre-snap checks. You see Caton Hauser. He's looking over to the sideline. There's really good communication. Everybody's on the same page. He sees that safety. He recognizes it. He motions Savage to the wide side of the field to bring that safety over. And then, as opposed to the first option play we showed where he pitched it to Rajay, on this one now he keeps it. And I was impressed with his speed. His ability to take it to the house. I didn't know he was that fast, Dave. And he did a nice job. I mean, I guess that was 35 yards out. So if you can incorporate that option game into the offense, that's going to go, that's going to go a long way.
Yeah, I'd seen on film that Hauser was a better runner than Garcia. So I didn't know he was that fast, but I'd seen it. And I had told my wife, Jessica, right before we called that play, I said, now would be a good chance to try to catch them off guard with some kind of a running play. And lo and behold, we did it. And again, the check at the line, I noticed that so many times the other night where he would check into a play, Matt, and every time he seemed to check into a play or change something at the line or look over at the sideline at Baker, something good happened.
No doubt, guys.
Just very quickly, before we move on from that option run for the touchdown by Caton Hauser, that defensive end came off the edge, and he was splitting the difference there, trying to play both, and Hauser did a good job of not pitching it and taking what was there, and really made a nice cut and a heck of a run.
No doubt. And guys, with this very thing of, I know that we have a comment about blind optimism, but the fact of the matter is, why shouldn't we feel confident? Man, after the Charlotte game, I thought I'd lost my best friend. It was like that. And now we've gone from that until we've won 2. Here's another thing I was thinking about, guys, is normally we wouldn't appreciate winning 2 games in a row, but under these circumstances, 2 games in a row that we've won and how we've won the games makes me, that's what I want to say to the folks that say, oh, well, you just played Temple and FAU. I know we played. It's not that we've played them and beat them. It's the fact of how we played them and how we beat them that really has my heart again, just so happy, because if we had barely beat both of those teams, I would be happy to be 5-4, but I would be going, man, it's going to be tough to get where we'll have to fight and scratch and claw to get the 6th win. But here we have a chance to legitimately be 8-4. I'm not taking anything for granted. I know the teams we have left on our schedule, but and we say one game at a time. But man, Tulsa, we can win that game on the road. We can win that game. North Texas trending down. You don't know really with Navy. Navy's always difficult for us, but I mean, if we're 7-4 going to that Navy game, I like our chances.
Yeah, I mean, as far as
Navy
the
is not,
Tulsa game, we're supposed to win that game. We're a 2-touchdown favorite. But
Yeah.
Well, the comment was about the Navy game. Be careful. Navy's not a bad team. Be careful with blind optimism. Well, should we sit here and say we're going to lose to Navy? I mean, first things first is obviously Tulsa. Then you have North Texas prior to Navy. But no, yeah, Navy's a good football team. We know that. We're being optimistic because we've played well. Do I think we're going to go steamroll Navy? No. And first of all, we got to get past Tulsa and North Texas before the Navy game. But the comment was specifically about the Navy game. No, we look, my friend. We're all very aware of how good Navy is. Okay, we ain't new at this. Navy has ate our lunch every time they've came to Greenville.
Like
Navy's
70,
got a hell
right?
of a Navy's got a
Wasn't it like 63, 70?
It's
A lot of
been blowout. It's been blowouts pretty much every time.
Dave, don't bring up my PTSD.
Yeah. So look, Navy's got a hell of a defense. You know, they held North Texas to 3 points yesterday, which is very impressive. Their offense has struggled in recent weeks, including yesterday. But they still run a very creative. It's not a true triple option anymore. It's more of a spread option now. But you know,
that's because they got the chronic.
They got the chronic. That's their OC. That's right. I mean, how did we know that, Bubba? How you mean you know who the OC is at Navy? It's insane. But so yeah, we're fully aware of what Navy is. But look, what I'm saying is, I think we're an extremely talented football team, particularly on the offensive side, and we weren't showing it, and we are now. First things first, Tulsa, then North Texas. But senior day and John David Baker, Blake Harrell is making this all about the seniors on ESPN2 on national TV. Interviewed, after the game by the sideline girl. He was asked, chance to make it all about himself, plea for the job, whatever. He was asked, what did you say to this team to make them play this way these last 2 weeks? And his response was, this ain't about me. This is about these seniors. I'm doing it for these seniors. So that kind of attitude, you're going to play hard for a guy like that, and particularly on senior day. And that's all I'll say. And we still got a ways. We got a ways to go before Navy. It doesn't even matter right now. What matters right now is getting bowl eligible against Tulsa. So, but yeah, we're all aware of how good Navy is. That's not news to us. North Texas is good too. North Texas only put up 3 points yesterday, which that again is a test to how good Navy's defense is. Because holding North Texas 3 points is extremely impressive.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, what I was going to say is, going into Denton, Texas, and holding them to 3 points I didn't think it was possible. Quite honestly. The way they score points. So we got 2 tough games to go after Tulsa. And look, we got to go play at Tulsa. Tulsa's not going to roll over for us. Just a couple of weeks ago, they beat UTSA.
Yeah,
and then they got blown out by UAB. UAB had a good performance yesterday against UConn in a loss. UConn's pretty good this year. So, we got 2 very tough games after Tulsa, and I'm not going to take the Tulsa game for granted. I never take any opponent for granted. I think all the guys here on the show can attest to that. I'm always the one that when we're playing somebody, I'll be more conservative with our score prediction than anybody.
No doubt.
Yeah, I mean, if you looked at that really quick on that North Texas game yesterday, very, very impressive performance by not only North Texas's defense to keep Army in check, but also Army's defense. I mean, very impressive. But North Texas did get the ball inside the 5-yard line twice in that game late and threw 2 interceptions. What's the quarterback's name again? Seth
Morris.
Morris, thank you.
Yeah.
Couldn't think of his name. He made 2 really bad reads in the red zone and threw 2 picks, which was pretty much the difference in that game. But Very impressive performance. I was impressed with North Texas' ability to play the run and stop the run against Army. I thought they were physical. They looked pretty good. Obviously, we're going to play them.
Navy.
Yeah. We're going to play them a totally different style by airing the ball out. So it's going to be interesting to see. But to your guys' point, like, look, you got to take them one game at a time. Certainly, we're in no position to overlook anybody. If you look at the way we've played, by and large over the last several years, we're never in a position to just think we're just going to roll it out there and steamroll somebody.
No.
But I do like, and we said this earlier this season, this team, even when we were losing, you could see that this team does have talent, and you could see it early. You could see the wide receivers can run. We have taller wide receivers. You could see the talent, but it just wasn't coming together yet. And one final thing about yesterday, I just want to say, because I'm really tough on the O-line for the last 2 years. I thought that was the best I've seen the offensive line play in years. I mean, they protected really well. You saw in those option plays we just showed, they blocked well, they picked up the blitz, and we ran the ball effectively too. So really good performance by the O-line. Maybe we're finally starting to see some progress with that group.
The O-line's played well the last 2 weeks, and that's something I brought up on the fifth quarter calling show. You generally don't pull an offensive line out of your butt mid-year. And what I see a lot is what we're doing offensively. We got a quarterback who's getting us into the right plays. He gets the ball out of his hands fast. And these running plays where we're running the ball outside, I really think helps the offensive line a lot. Running the ball up the middle, even in a spread formation, it just ain't the right idea for East Carolina. Not repeatedly. You can do it some, but you need to open it up with the passing game and by running the ball outside. And I think that's helping the offensive line tremendously.
And guys, the very fact, if you look at this team, the team is playing so confident now. It's very exciting to see, especially when you look at, we're talking about the last 3 games. My question to you guys is, another thing is that this team seems to be getting hot exactly when you want them to get hot, to peak.
Okay, now this I really like. You're going to see the pre-check, the pre-snap movement here. Watch the safety into the boundary. So now we're going to motion Savage over to the wide side of the field. The safety on top moves with him. London Montgomery shifts over. That opens up a lane here for Caden Hauser. See, they vacated that side.
Just in case we hadn't seen that enough, we'll see it one more time. Dave, what were you saying?
Sorry
about that, Dave.
I was just saying, I was just going to get your guys' reaction. Another thing that I thought about this morning, knowing we were doing the show tonight, is, do you guys think that this team, it just feels like we're getting hot at the right time? You want to peak at a certain point. I know, Matt, when you guys played, you don't want to be losing game, start off really hot and then fold midway or towards the end of the season. I know it's 2 games, so it's not that I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. Believe me,
I'm drinking the Purple Source Rex.
We've switched personalities or something, Kyle, I think. But you're the optimist now, and I'm. I really like. I do like. I'm a big fan of JDB. I like what he's doing on the offensive side. I like the trick plays. I like the more than just run, pass. Offense.
Yeah, to your point, Dave, and we said this last week, is at this point in the year, you're either getting better or you're getting worse. Nobody's staying the same. And you do see certain teams around the country are really starting to fade and go the wrong direction.
Yep. NC State?
NC State? I don't know. Did NC State win yesterday? I thought they won.
No, they lost. But
oh, okay.
Yeah, to be fair to NC State, they're starting quarterback, Grayson McCall. What's that? The Coastal Carolina quarterback.
Yeah.
He got injured and called it a career. So to be fair to NC State, they don't have their quarterback. But you know what? I wouldn't mind seeing
that true freshman. He has looked very good, and so.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing 8-4 East Carolina against a 6-6 NC State in the Military Bowl.
Wouldn't mind that at all. But Yeah, I mean, you make a good point, Dave, about peaking at the right time. You always want to peak at the right time. Listen, we've been able, knock on wood, maybe I shouldn't say this. We've been able to stay healthy this year. Our offensive line has stayed healthy, other than, Bond, Javius Bond, which has been, he's been the one player that really hasn't been able to help us at all because of that hamstring injury, which is really unfortunate. But we've been able to stay healthy. And again, knock on wood that remains. But if we can continue to stay healthy and continue to progress, I think we're going to be a tough out.
Guys, I don't know if you guys saw this. This is non-football related, but a guy that paid his dues in MLB. I'm really excited for you guys. I don't know if you know that Clayton McCullough is now he was with the Dodgers, and now he's a former teammate of Cliff Godwin. He's now going to be the manager for the Miami Marlins. So congratulations to him, a guy that has put his work in. And, Dustin Hoffman said that you have to work 10 years to be an overnight success. McCullough is a guy that has been, what do you say, Matt, a grinder? He's definitely a grinder, and congratulations to him. It's always great to see a Pirate achieving their goals and their dreams. So thought that was very cool. I want to mention that tonight.
And another thing that Dustin Hoffman said was, "Bam, 99X, the future of rock and roll."
Hey, and right here, I want to go. Always appreciate Chuck Sae chiming in, and he did so via YouTube. And yeah, Chuck, we're definitely not piling on Coach Houston. He said even though it didn't work out for Coach Houston, he did hire Blake Harrell and John David Baker. Also extended the scholarship to Caton Hauser. And all we're doing is just stating a few things, and others have done the same. And I think 6 or I guess 5.5 years is a pretty large sample size to things. We're pretty entrenched as far as the way we wanted to go about things under Coach Houston. Not quite as aggressive at times at the end of halves and so on. And to each their own. And there's plenty of places that works out well, but it was just not working out the way we would hope for us.
No, it's like our intro video says, and the intro video at Dowdy-Ficklen says. At East Carolina, you go for it every time, and it's just the mentality you have to be successful here. And very few times has it worked out without that mentality. Skip Holtz would be the one exception. Mike Houston's I'm not saying Mike Houston's a good football coach, and Mike Houston will be successful somewhere else. It just won't work in here. And you're right, he did hire Blake Harrell, he did hire John David Baker, and he did bring in Caton Hauser. In the examples of Caton Hauser, he wasn't using him at all. He was sitting on the bench up until second half of the Charlotte game, and we weren't using him. John David Baker was not being allowed to be used to his full capabilities. He was put up in the box when he wanted to be on the sideline. He wasn't allowed to be aggressive as he wanted to be. So it goes back to what I say: you can hire all the best people in the world in business. If you don't allow them to be themselves and utilize them to their fullest capability, if you utilize them the way you want to utilize them instead of utilizing them the way they need to be utilized and letting them be themselves, you're not going to get the most out of them. And that's in business, life, or anything else. Just in a marriage, if you try to micromanage a marriage and control your wife or your husband rather than letting them be themselves, you're going to end up in an effing divorce. So it's the same kind of thing. Yeah, he hired great people. He brought in Hauser, or somebody did. Maybe it was Baker. We don't know who brought in Hauser. We don't know who was responsible for that call, but Houston was the head coach at the time. Houston's not a bad coach, and he's not a bad person, and nobody hates Mike Houston. I go back to what I said earlier. Mike Houston's a bit of a micromanager, and I think probably a bit of a control freak, and that just does not work out well for you long term. And this is the longest Mike Houston has ever been anywhere. Everywhere else he's been, he went in there and he got out in a hurry. And this was the longest he was anywhere, and I think it showed. I don't think he prepared for the long term, and I really believe he was a year behind. I think He thought he was going to get out of here at the end of the 2022 season. I think he thought he had a group there that was going to win 10, 11 games, and instead they went 7-5, then 8-5 with the bowl, and it wasn't enough to get him a big-time Power 5 job. And he did not prepare properly recruiting, particularly on the offensive side of the ball. He did not work the portal very hard at all, and went into the 2023 season really unprepared. And he was a year behind on making up for it, and now halfway through that second year, what he did this past season in the offseason is finally starting to show. And that has a lot to do with it. He was a year behind.
Absolutely.
By the way, you know, with North Carolina being 12th in the ACC right now, I understand that there's a good chance that Mac will retire and Mike Houston gets the UNC job. So it'll all work out for.
Oh, I mean,
it'll all work out for everybody. Hey, by the way, guys, a quick look. Our good buddy Pays. He's got this, and this will be good for all of us, including Kyle, if this is true. He's got ECU going to the Military Bowl against Virginia. That game is December 28th. I can take that time off.
I think it's the 27th.
Is it the 27th?
I believe so. I believe it's Friday, the 27th.
Be a hell of a matchup. Virginia's a team that's playing really good football right now.
I don't know if I want that matchup.
Virginia is a very good team this year. Kind of an underrated team. You don't hear much about.
28.
They played really well against Pitt yesterday. They're
improving. Yeah, they're not.
They're a well coached team, without question. But you know, I just wanted to kind of give you guys this thought, since I know we're kind of jumping to different topics here and whatnot. But let's just look at this for a second from the perspective of Caton Hauser. All right, he comes here on an NIL deal, right? Obviously, a very rocky start to his tenure here. Without, you know, he didn't win the job. We all know that. But now all of a sudden, he's in a situation where he is excelling as a player. He's excelling on the field. He's being very productive, right? And, you know, obviously it's a small sample size, but if this continues, now all of a sudden, you know, if you change the offensive system, all of a sudden you now have a quarterback who is playing really good football, and he's like, oh my God, now I got to start all over again in an entirely different system. Does he even stay at that point? Does he try to find a system that works for him? It's clear he's comfortable here and he's operating really well with John David Baker. So again, another way of saying that if we don't seriously consider giving this staff a real look, I think that would be a mistake. And in particular, if this carries over, if we continue to play at this level. So you just don't want to have to keep changing that every year, right?
Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier. You know, the game has changed. And not only do you have to look at if we win enough games that, you know, we're talking about retaining Blake Harrell and John David Baker, you know, generally you wouldn't have to if you wouldn't have to worry about your quarterback leaving. Now that's something you have to consider. Hauser's a hell of a quarterback. We don't want to lose him. If he continues to play this way, bottom line, it'll play itself out. Really, if we go 8-4, even if he go 8-4, he's got the job. If we go 7-5, he's likely got the job. But yeah, that's something I was saying earlier with the game changing like it is. You got to take Hauser into that equation when you're looking at the next head coach. And you know, maybe a Garrett Riley would come in here and Hauser would want to stay, because who wouldn't want to play for Garrett Riley in that system? But I'm telling you, I'm always a big believer, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I remember back when Coach LeClaire got sick, I was a big proponent at that time of promoting Tommy Eason to head coach. And we went outside and hired Randy Mazey, and Mazey did okay, but he was never the right fit. And it goes back to, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Despite Randy Mazey's success, he ended up getting fired. And you always kind of wondered what kind of job Tommy Eason would have done. He's done a hell of a job at Pitt Community College. But, you know, and there's other examples. Look, this ain't the first time in history where an interim head coach has put himself in position to be head coach. The obvious example is Dabo Swinney. But a more recent example is Brent Key. For those that don't realize, he was interim head coach at Georgia Tech just 2 years ago, and they just beat Miami, who was undefeated and ranked number 4 in the country yesterday. So there's multiple examples of where this works out. Louisiana or UAB is an example of where they made the decision not to keep their interim head coach when Bill Clark stepped down the beginning of the season 2 years ago due to health reasons. And their interim head coach took them to a bowl, and they didn't keep him. And they hired Trent Dilfer, and UAB has been horrible under Trent Dilfer. Meanwhile, the interim head coach at UAB got the University of Louisiana Monroe job this year,
killing it,
and they're 5-4, and have a chance to go to a bowl game, which is a rare occasion at Monroe. So there's an example where UAB didn't retain the interim head coach and has to right now wish they did. So, it'll play itself out. You'll know, by the time that Navy game's over with, if Blake Harrell and John David Baker should be retained or not. And I just hope people are honest with themselves, and particularly the people with the money that are pulling the strings behind the scenes with John Gilbert. I hope they're honest with themselves and their heart isn't set on an East Carolina guy or a big name, right, and is willing to see what's in front of them. If what I think happens is going to happen, if it plays out the way I think it's going to, I just hope that the people with the money and the egos realize what's most important is winning, not getting who you think you want.
Well, especially when we talked about earlier in the show, if you're just joining us, I'll give Kyle credit where credit's due, is that it's very, if we are losing, that's obvious, right? But when you're winning, you don't want to make a change when you're winning. And like Kyle said, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. When you got all these great coaches, they're doing a great job recruiting, you get more guys in. Then Matt is our portal expert. When you get a portal situation where, we're clicking on all cylinders between the portal, when you look at other like JUCO players, when you look at that, I mean, we've got a lot of talent. And so what it comes down to is, for me, like you said, Kyle, if he loses the next 3 games or something like that, then you can understand why we make.
Oh yeah, it won't even be talked about. Hell, if he loses to Tulsa this week, the narrative changes.
Yeah, but
yeah, and you look at what this team will look like, and again, we're just kind of this is the fun part about a sports radio show. We have the ability here to speculate and look ahead and talk about all these fun topics. Or am I getting way ahead of myself? Yeah, I'm getting way ahead, but it's interesting to look at when you see what this team has. And you look at next year, right? We're losing 3 starters on the offensive line. I think we have 5 defensive linemen who are going to need to be replaced. Who it seems like those guys have been here for 10 years.
Yeah.
It seems like they've been here forever.
They played a lot.
They've played a lot of football. Guys like Elijah Morris and some of these guys, and so a lot of work to be done in the portal, no doubt about it. But if you can kind of keep this core together, and hopefully, obviously you're going to lose Winston Wright Jr., but if you can keep or find a way to keep Sowell and Yannick Smith, and I want to say, and I could be wrong about this, you guys correct me if I'm wrong, I want to say that Jari Patterson might have 1 more year of eligibility.
That sounds right.
And he's a guy that I think is really starting to come on. You're starting to really see him progress as a player. Last year, he didn't play particularly well, dropped a lot of balls. You're starting to really see him get comfortable in a scheme. And in particular on these jet sweeps, he looks fantastic. Bubba, do you know if Jari Patterson has 1 more year of eligibility off the top of your head?
I do not.
I'm pretty sure he does. I'm almost positive he does.
Great point by Pace. If Blake Harrell runs the schedule, it'll be the first 8-win regular season since 2014. That's insane, guys. Insane.
Yeah. It would be the first. Exactly. It would be the first 8-win regular season since 2014. And Bob, count them up. Really. Let's do this real fast. Let's not go back to the 90s. It's too far. But we'll do the last. We'll do since the turn of the century.
2000.
Let's count 8-win regular seasons. Was there one in 2000? No. We won 8 wins after the bowl game. It was a 7-win regular season. 2001? No. 2002? No. 2003? No. 2004? No. 2005? No. 2006? No. 2007? 8 wins after the bowl game. 2008? 8-win regular season. 2009? 8-win regular season. That's 2. 2012, 8-win regular season, that's 3. 2013, 8-win regular season, that's 4. 2014, 8-win regular season, that's 5. We've had 5 8-win regular seasons in the last 24 years. We had one 8-win season under Houston. That was after a bowl. 5 8-win regular seasons since the turn of the century. So if you think if we go 8-4 and there's 3 games left to play, so there's a lot of ifs and buts and fruits and nuts, and we'd all have a Merry Christmas. But if we go 8-4 and have our 6th 8-win regular season in the last 24 years, and you don't think the staff needs to be retained,
something's wrong
you're
with
on, you're on drugs and it ain't weed. So I'm just telling you,
crack pipe down.
Exactly. And I mean, so, and look, and of course, look, Navy might come in here and destroy us. They've done it many times before, but we're speaking if. We're speaking, what should we be sitting up here saying that, hey, you know, we're going to lose this week to Tulsa? You know, look, if we struggle to beat Tulsa and then we lose the next 2 to North Texas and Navy, then we will start our head coaching candidate list, you know, like we were talking before the Temple game, in full throat. I mean, you know, we have our favorites. You know, I love Tyson Helton. But what I've seen the last 2 weeks, do I think Tyson Helton would have done any better? No. So
right.
until I see us start to struggle, I'm all in.
Yeah.
And really at this point, you know, and then I'll let Matt chime in. But you know, as far as retaining Blake Harrell or making him removing that interim tag, or you know, bringing in someone else, you know, it's clear, you know, that the day-to-day and, you know, the prep and everything that's going on right now, that he's doing an excellent job with it. That the players really love his, you know, play loose and I mean, just that the mentality and the different tweaks that he has made to things. But at that point, you know, if we continue to play well over these last 3 games, you know, John Gilbert and the decision makers just have to ask themselves, you know, do they feel like, you know, the other aspects and things you want from a head coach, does Coach Harrell, does he check those boxes? And I think, you know, largely based on what I know, the answer would be yes, from the standpoint of, you know, recruiting and, you know, a personality that would really mesh well with donors and encourage people to, you know, obviously just the winning, and that's the biggest thing that's going to get people to give money. But, you know, in this day and age, it's even more important for a coach to have a personality that fits with the program and the fan base. And I think Blake Harrell is just that. And on Thursday night in his post-game press conference, yeah, sure, that the crowd from a number standpoint left a lot to be desired, but you know, he didn't say that. You know, he just said, "Hey, what an awesome atmosphere," and you know, hats off to the Pirate Nation for the ones that were there and created a good environment, and you could tell he's just very appreciative and comes across, you know, very, very genuine.
Bubba, I'm gonna get you to do something here in a second, but I'll go and say this. I think so many fans have their heart set on a certain coach. I think you have your fans, their hearts will sit on Garrett Riley. You have your fans their heart set on Joe Sloan. You have your fans that maybe heart is set on Skip Holtz. You have your fans like me that love Tyson Helton. I'm a huge, you know, that'd be who I'd want if we don't retain Blake. But you got to put all that aside and look what's in front of you. And what's in front of you, if it's working, there's no need to change it. And Bubba, those are all great points you made. But if you will and you don't mind speaking on a personal issue, why don't you talk about your personal interaction and what Blake Harrell did for you when, you know, he had been on the podcast once, but It ain't like you guys had some close relationship. If you don't mind
No.
sharing that, just to show what kind of person he is.
Yeah, not at all. Like you said, and it's certainly not like I had any close friendship with Coach. But he'd been on the podcast a couple times, and appreciated that, and was nice enough to when me and my family went to the Cincinnati game, made sure that we had tickets for that. So really appreciative of Coach Harrell. And but Grimes on Bigfoot here chimes in. He says, "Does Kyle still believe that Mike Houston should have hired Chad Morris as OC instead of JDB?"
Yeah, Grimes on Bigfoot. They're calling me out on that. And I said that based on what I saw under John David Baker, under Mike Houston. That I thought Chad Morris and his son, who's the starting quarterback at North Texas, who has played really well up until this past Saturday, would have been here with him. And what we had at the time, Grimes on Bigfoot, was John David Baker that was being held back, and Garcia at quarterback. So we assumed we didn't have a quarterback.
Which was his decision, by the way.
Exactly. We assumed Blake Harrell sucked. Or excuse me, not Blake Harrell. We assumed Caton Hauser sucked. So the my thoughts on that were based on what I saw at the time. To answer your question, no. Now I think Mike Houston should have let John David Baker be himself and should have been starting Caton Hauser. But at the time, I was under the assumption that Garcia was the best choice, or they wouldn't be starting him. And we didn't have a quarterback. So I thought, well, if Chad Morris would have been here, his son would have came with him instead of transferring from TCU to North Texas. And I thought Chad was a more experienced play caller, and JDB didn't know what he was doing. I had no idea JDB was being held back and we were playing the wrong quarterback. So to answer your question, no, I don't think we should have hired Chad Morris instead. I think Mike Houston should have allowed John David Baker to be himself, and we should have been starting the right quarterback. So that, to answer your question, no. Now I see what the problem was.
Yeah. It's amazing what a difference one or two players can make. I mean, you obviously right now look at this example of Caton Hauser. I mean, it seems like an entirely different offense with him running the show. But you think about Siobhan Ravel, how much different the defense looked when he was injured. So it is amazing in college football. One great player can change everything. It can change the entire identity of your team,
particularly at quarterback. And so look, I agreed with you at that time. I mean, I hated what I saw out of this offense early in the year. No, you wouldn't call him JDB because he hadn't earned the right to have the nickname, according to you.
Correct. This is the show me state, as they say, and I needed to see it. And I was not happy at all with the way the offense looked, and it looked like more of the same. A lot of runs up the middle, a lot of turnovers. We were false starting multiple times a game, and it just looked like a continuation of previous years. And so it wasn't pretty. It really wasn't pretty. Now he needs to just continue moving forward. It's great that we've had two good games, but we need a bigger sample size. So I hope it works out. I hope JDB has all the success in the world here, and obviously Blake Harrell. I would love to see this work out and for those guys to get the job. Now, Will makes a great point earlier. If somebody could put that up, that Will made a good comment. Will Landon.
Yeah, just a moment. I'll find that, Matt. I saw the comment you're referencing.
And this is something we talked about, and Will makes the point: if we can finish strong, give Harrell a chance, guarantee he'd be open to a 2 or 3 year deal as opposed to somebody who would want a 5-year deal. Just kind of summing that up quickly, but yes, exactly. And this is something I was thinking about over the weekend, and I think I actually mentioned it to you guys that.
Yeah, you talked about it, Matt.
Yeah, and I know it's very. I think Kyle, you made the point. It's not common at all, right? And you're right to give a guy
a 3-year deal is done frequently, but a 2-year deal, I've never heard of that, and I wouldn't do it. I am okay with a 3-year deal though.
See, I would love to if this continues to again a lot of ifs.
I think it hurts
if
recruiting.
it continues.
Man. I think it hurts recruiting if you do a 2-year deal.
I just it has to be a short deal. It definitely has to be. If it had to go 5, I would say no way in hell I would do it. Put it that way, because you don't even know if John David Baker is a guy who's going to want to stick around here.
I think that's got to be part of the discussion.
Yeah. So a lot of ifs, ands, and buts, and yeah, like I said earlier, we're probably getting way ahead of ourselves. But I think Will makes a good point. You got to look at the length of this potential deal.
Yeah, 5-year deals are the norm. 3-year deals are done. In fact, Southern Miss typically hires coaches on a 3-year contract. I know that for a fact because I'm so close to that program because of people I know. So yeah, I say I'm with you, Matt, and Will. If things play out right, offer maybe if we go 8-4, go ahead and give him 5 years. But otherwise, if it's 7-5, offer Coach Harrell a 3-year deal. That's reasonable. That's done in college football. That's not insulting. Offer him a 3-year deal that won't hurt recruiting because you got your coach locked in for 3 years. Offer him $1 million to $1.2 million, and then what I say you do at that point is get a commitment. What's the commitment worth? He may get offered the offensive coordinator position in an SEC school and he's gone, but get a commitment from JDB and go ahead and make him one of the highest paid coordinators at the group of 5, because now you've opened up a lot of salary because you're only paying Blake Harrell $1 million to $1.2 million a year, and you maybe pay JDB like $800,000-900,000 as OC to make sure he'll stick around for a while. So and then the beauty in that is typically also your contract and your buyout. So after year 2, if we're stinking it up and it was a mistake, and JDB's got 1 year, Blake Harrell's got 1 year left on his contract. Let's say it's $1.2 million, your buyout's probably gonna be $700,000. So to me and you, it's a lot of money, but to East Carolina, that's nothing. So yeah, I think a 3-year deal versus a 5-year deal for Blake Harrell would be a smart way to go.
Very quickly before we get out of here, one other series of numbers I wanted to throw out there is from an offensive standpoint over the last 10 quarters. I know we were discussing this earlier. So again, this is from the second half of the Army game on. So Army, Temple, and FAU. 29 possessions for the ECU offense, 18 touchdowns, including, I think it's 11 out of 11 in the red zone with all 11 touchdowns. Just unbelievable. And then, and that's something that we had not done regardless of competition. And to be perfect it's mind-boggling. But
what
again,
did I say to you? I noticed on tape about Hauser the first time I ever watched him on tape, Bubba.
I'm trying to recall.
Yeah, he execute. He looks very comfortable executing in the red zone.
But 29 possessions, 18 touchdowns, 6 punts, 2 interceptions, a missed field goal, and then twice each of the last 2 games. The game just ended when we had the ball. So, pretty impressive. You look at that. I mean, we're scoring touchdowns essentially, 66% of the time.
I forgot what victory formation looked like. I mean, it's so nice to see victory formation again. Just take a knee and go home.
But
you know what? It's going to be interesting, guys, and hopefully we won't see it this week against Tulsa. But as we go down the following 2 against North Texas on the road and Navy at home, how's this team going to react in the fourth quarter under the staff in a close game? That's something we haven't seen. Both games have been blowouts. We did face some adversity early against Temple, but how is this team going to react in a close game with this staff? That is something I look forward to seeing. Hopefully that's not something we have to see this Thursday against Tulsa. But I don't think anybody's under the illusion that we're going to blow out Navy in North Texas. So it'll be interesting to see. That's another aspect of coaching that we get to test Blake Harrell on and JDB as OC, but particularly Blake Harrell. Close game. How does he manage clock management? Does he play for a field goal, or does he try to be aggressive and go for a touchdown? It'll be interesting to see. A close game is going to come up at some point over these next three, and it'll be interesting to see how he manages those situations.
No doubt. In fact, we talked about one game at a time, but when you get this, if it's a close game against Tulsa and you pull out and you win it, then that'll be fantastic. And then, hey, or it could be that we blow out Tulsa and then you have a very, very tight competitive game at North Texas.
Yep.
That's who knows what's going to happen. All I know is we're 5-4 now. We can smell being bowl eligible. With that, we're that close. Where a couple weeks ago it felt like that it was a pipe dream, and now it's become all of a sudden in a short period of time more of a reality. We still have to go get the job done. You guys, do you feel confident in our chances on Thursday night? How confident are you that we're going to win the game early?
You want a percentage?
Yeah, that's fine right now. We're not giving our scores out. That's
I'll say I'm 90% confident we're going to win.
I know there's always a chance. So you beat me to it. I was thinking like 95%. I know there's always a chance, so it can't be 100% because you have to play the game. But we have Facebook user who says 100%.
Matt, what's your confidence level going into Thursday night?
I'm with Facebook user. I think Tulsa's a horrendous football team. And I think if we don't win, it's a complete indictment on this program. So 100% chance.
Well, it's like 100% chance of rain, right?
And you know me, I am not a homer. I can be one of the more, critical people, but I've
never called you a homer.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. Homer Simpson?
Yeah. Homer Simpson.
No homer.
No homer. I think the line is 14. Put it this way. If I was a betting man, which occasionally I can be, I would take the Pirates minus. What is the line right now as tonight?
Last I saw it was minus 13 on DraftKings. I've seen it anywhere from 10 to 14.
Minus 13, I love. I mean, I absolutely love that line because I think we're going to win by 14.
Somebody's Hot Pocket is ready.
That would be mine.
That
would be my dinner right there.
What are you having?
It's just like a frozen vegetables and pasta.
Okay, all right. That's healthy.
I had to put it in the microwave. You
got me scared for a second because my kids are notorious. They sometimes think they know how to cook and they put stuff in their microwave. And we've had some science and projects going on in the microwave. I'm glad to know that you cooking and not my kids, Matt, because it's downstairs and I was getting ready to do
I got a funny story about that when I was a kid. I guess I was a young teenager, actually about 13.
Last year?
You know when? Huh?
Was it last year?
Yeah, it was last year. You know how Wendy's wraps their burgers with they used to in foil.
I did the same.
And I threw a Dave's double or whatever they call it. It was in the 90s. Threw it in the microwave in the wrapper, and sparks flew everywhere. And so
I did that when I was a teenager. Also, Kyle, we have that. I didn't know that we have that in common.
Yeah, so I happened to
I didn't know any better.
Yeah. Sparks flew everywhere. My mom, ran to the microwave before it exploded. I don't know if it would have actually exploded, but yeah. So, I don't know. Learning process, just like your kids. They don't know any better until they find out.
No question.
I can relate, fellas. I can relate.
All right. Do you guys have anything before we get out of here? We've, by the way,
can not only do we congratulate the ladies soccer team on winning the American Conference Championship, but basketball team's 2-0. They beat North Carolina Wesleyan. Who cares? But then win over Coastal Carolina yesterday. Not pretty. Physical basketball game. Could have hit our free throws at the end and put it away. But still a win over a Sun Belt team that they were bad last year, but typically they're at the top half of the Sun Belt. So good win at home. So basketball's 2-0. That's something. Hey, man, we won a lot this week. 2 basketball games, won a conference championship in soccer, and won our football game Thursday night. What's going on in East Carolina?
I know. And by the way, we have Mount Olive on that big.
Oh boy, get excited now. The Fighting Pickles are coming to town.
The pickles. Oh man. Yeah,
Mount Olive pickles. Yeah.
The thing is for me is that it sounds disrespectful to Mount Olive and North Carolina Wesleyan. We have no business playing those schools, no business whatsoever.
No, and if we lose to them, that's ridiculous. So no, we don't need. There's 300 and some Division I basketball schools. There's no reason we should be playing a Division III and a Division II school. It's
We can't
beyond
count those
stupid.
games. We can't count those games.
Well, you count them towards your record. You can't count them towards NCAA tournament or NIT tournament eligibility.
And one of these years, we're going to be.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to add to what you're saying. One of these years, what's going to happen is we're going to have 2 or 3 extra wins on our record that won't help us with getting into the NCAA. And that AD, whoever that is at that time, deserves to be fired if they allow the schedule of this. That, I'm beyond trying to help the coach out with. I'm going to be a Matt here for a second. We are in a wins-loss business, yes, but that does not help our program. Guess what? It's not putting butts in the seats. Because
I don't know what the thoughts were behind that. I don't know if it was just trying to get home games and we were having trouble getting 2 more home games. It was
maybe
not wanting to spend money on any more buy games, so we went real cheap with that. I don't know. I'd like to know more of why. One of them I can stomach, but 2 of them makes me want to throw up. And it
just feels lazy. It feels
is, and then it doesn't do anything for you, Matt. You just beat Coastal. So you played one quality opponent. Now you're going to go play Mount Olive. How does playing Mount Olive get you ready for George Mason? It doesn't. So I guarantee you, if you go look at George Mason's schedule, they ain't going to be playing any non-Division I games before they play us. I don't know that for a fact, but I'd be willing to bet. So I don't know how playing Mount Olive midweek gets you ready for George Mason next Saturday. But the good news is we're 2-0 and a nice win over Coastal Carolina. Was it pretty? No. Was it effective? Yes. 2-0 in basketball.
Yeah, I mean, the fact is we'll be 3-0 going in most likely against George Mason, another home game on Saturday. So, hey, we could have a situation where we're bowl eligible on Thursday and then have a nice win over Mason. So we'll see. And then
that would be a nice win too. You beat Mason and Greenville, a very high caliber team from the A10. Yeah. Be a great win at home, and it's a good home game to get. And hopefully we have a good crowd for that one. Is that an afternoon game or a night game?
It's, I believe, off the top of my head, I think it's 4:00. I like these 4:00 games, by the way, guys, in basketball. Basketball, when you have that 4:00 game, and then if you guys were in town, we could all go out to have a really nice dinner afterwards. And something cool about I like those late afternoon games in basketball. And sometimes it's cool to have a 12:00 or 2:00, but definitely like that. And 2 great opponents when you have Coastal, like you said, Kyle, and then you have the Mount Olive. You have the Mount Olive again. And yes,
no, you did great opponents. So I'm assuming you're talking about Coastal and George Mason.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, in between you, not so much, but. And I'm not trying to, it is what it is. I'm not trying to Mount Olive and North Carolina Wesleyan.
No, it's nothing against Mount Olive and North Carolina Wesleyan. It's the level they play at.
Right. Hey, how about this, Matt? How would you feel? I'm not an FCS guy, okay, but at least I can say that win
bowl eligibility.
At least I can say that where I can say, you know what, and it's only one game. A season that we're playing an FCS opponent. Again, not knocking them. But this particular case, not only do I not like that we're dropping down a level or 2, but also the fact it doesn't help you. It hurts you and anyway. Yeah. Anyway, it is what it is.
It is what it is, fellas. One thing I want to say is, and this will be my final thought, and I gotta bounce.
Okay.
But I didn't get a chance to mention it earlier, but since we haven't given any love to the defense tonight, Zakai Barker, man, that kid is a player.
Oh man,
flying around.
Yeah,
he was flying around the other night. I think he's a leader. He was all over the field. I thought defensively we got after us. I just wanted to give him some credit because he's a young player in our program that has a chance to have a fantastic career here. So I want to mention, and also congratulations to the women's soccer team, which I didn't get a chance to say. I'm I'm very friendly with Abby Soa's family. They're from right here in Connecticut, and she's a great player, and really happy for them that they were able to pull that off. So
first time in 34 years. First time in 34 years.
Fantastic.
We've never been to the NCAA tournament in women's soccer. So, hey, men's basketball. You've had the women's basketball team has gone to the tournament now, and you're getting ready to have now the soccer team. When are you going to the clock? You're on the clock now. All right, Matt, we'll get out of here. Thank you, Bubba, very much. Thanks to everybody. A huge crowd again tonight listening and watching tonight. We appreciate you so much. Thanks for all the comments on YouTube and Facebook. We'll get out of here. We'll have our preview this week in the next couple nights. So stay tuned for that. In the meantime, for all of us here at the Pirate Playback on the Sports Objective, good night, everybody. And as always, go Pirates.
You're watching the Sports Objective, the podcast for Pirates.